Great. Well, thank you, folks, so much for joining us. For those who are watching, my name is Mark Hayes. I'm the Associate Director of Cryptocurrency and FinTech for Americans for Financial Reform and Demand Progress. And I'm joined today by our friend and ally, Ben McKenzie, who's an actor, author, and filmmaker. He's best known for starring roles in programs such as Gotham, Southland, and the OC, and is also the author, alongside Jacob Silverman, of the book Easy Money, Cryptocurrency, Casino Capitalism, and the Golden Age of Fraud. I believe he's appeared both on Broadway and testified before Congress. Maybe that's a coincidence, maybe not. But in any case, we are here to talk with him about his new film, Everyone is Lying to You for Money. Welcome, Ben.
Oh, thank you, Mark. Thanks for the great intro. Yes,
Yeah.
not a coincidence. Showbiz and Congress is similar dynamics at play.
Yeah, not too many degrees of separation there.
Mm.
Well, it's so great to connect with you. And I'm glad to talk to you because, I think our connection here goes way back. I remember when first you were writing the book with Jacob that's tied to this movie and inspired by it. I remember you coming to our offices and chatting with me. And then we had a great time hosting you for an event in DC the following year during, I think, the launch of your book, which seemed really timely given the fallout from the crypto crash in 2022 and 23. But, here we are 4 years later and things feel very, Dickensian, right? The worst of times, the best of times. And I guess before we get into the nuts and bolts of the movie, I just wanted to ask you, looking back during that timeline, what surprised you most about where you've come on this journey as a skeptic and observer of the crypto industry? And what surprised you most about sort of the highs and lows of crypto's role in society during that time period?
Yeah, it is. It has been a roller coaster, I think, for those of us who care about this issue and are fearful about sort of a lack of regulation and an unregulated form of this quasi money entering our regulated system, which has enough troubles as it is, as you know better than I. So the highs and lows are high. The highs are high and the lows are low. I would say one of the highs, perhaps it's a bit self-serving, but our event in DC with AFR was fantastic. The launch of the book, the timing there was quite good as crypto had crashed at the time, and a lot of folks were being prosecuted for crimes they'd committed. Some of them are already in jail, and I remember having conversations with fellow skeptics. There's obviously a lot of us out there. I just happen to be the only one who's been on TV before, so I think I get a little bit of publicity. But there was a quite a wide. There were a lot of differing viewpoints, and some folks thought that it was going to go away forever. This was it. It was done. I remember one very seasoned skeptic sort of making that case quite uh, insistently. And then there were others who were very fearful that the door had not been shut on this thing regulatory wise. And who knows what the future might hold. But given how much money the crypto industry had already made at that point off of its customers, it had a lot of money to spend on influencing the political system and our legislation. And I was somewhere stuck in the middle. I, I did not see Donald Trump's embrace of cryptocurrency coming because he had previously called Bitcoin a scam as recently as 2021. That's actually how I sort of met my co-author, Jacob Silverman. He had written an article about it for Slate at the time that says even Donald Trump knows Bitcoin is a scam. And it is fascinating to watch, Trump's embrace of crypto has, brought it back from the dead. And now the zombies are amongst us, I guess, is to continue the metaphor. It's it's really we're in a bad place. I'll be blunt. We're in a bad, I mean, overall, but specifically when it comes to crypto. They have are taking apart the SEC. They disbanded the cryptocurrency crime task force inside the DOJ. They passed an act called the Genius Act. It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
We can talk about all that in a second. So um, I guess the good news is I have a fun film that makes fun of all this and how stupid it is, and 90 minutes comedy. And I think people are really hungry for it. They're really,
Yeah.
really ready to say, F these guys, like we are going to take our power back. and we're going to call them out, and we are stronger together than they are individually. So I'm quite excited to be out there and to meet people who come to see the show. I'm going to as many screenings as possible to promote the
Great.
movie, so I'll be all over the country.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, your comments made me reflect. I mean, one thing we've said in our advocacy, right, is that I think prior to 2024, I think a lot of people, both doing advocacy work and just, concerned citizens, if you will, um, understood some of the risks and threats of the industry and its practices that you've spelled out, but either sort of didn't want to engage or didn't think it was going to be central to the broader political conversation we're having about how we promote financial justice and other forms of justice. And now the silver lining is it's less difficult to make that case, right? Because
Yes.
those sort of aggressive political stances everywhere, people are kind of forced to take notice, and that's a difficult challenge. But it does mean that films like yours are timely in that regard. So I wanted to ask a bit about the movie. I'm looking forward to seeing more of it. I know it's inspired by the book, but my understanding is you took a little bit of a different approach to the movie versus the book, and I just wanted to ask you about that. Tell us a bit more about how you've approached this film.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with a book, obviously, you have so much more room to explore all sorts of things, and I could sort of geek out as a econ nerd. That's why I fell into this, right? Is I have a degree in economics, and I was bored over the pandemic, and I'm glad we sort of jumped through that because I've been answering that question a million times. But I could dork out on the history of money and private money, what is money, and all that stuff. In the film, you obviously have to be much more judicious in terms of what you can focus on and what you really can't afford to. And I wanted to keep the movie tight. I wanted to defy if you tell people I'm going to see a documentary about cryptocurrency, they're probably going to look at you a little sort of like, what's your interest in this? What is this about? I also was very worried that people were going to sort of feel the way about my movie that they feel about crypto more broadly, which is it seems really complicated, and I don't know if I. People say all the time, I don't know if I'm smart enough to understand it. And I made this movie to explain, yes, you are. It is not you. It is them. You are plenty smart enough. I guarantee you, any AFR person watching this video is more than smart enough to understand on just a fundamental. I understand you may not know it the way I know it, but on a fundamental gut level, this is bad. This is wrong. This will not end well. And I show in the film my experience going down the rabbit hole. So I really, it's a Michael Moore-esque, Louis Theroux-esque, first person journey down a gonzo world into both the stupidity of cryptocurrency and the danger of cryptocurrency.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah, I think I've had that experience myself where you talk about you bring up that topic and you get sort of very divergent responses from people. Either there's sort of a side eye that leads to a shorter conversation, or maybe a little too overly enthusiastic conversation. So I think aiming for that everyman approach is a good tact.
Yeah,
And
I made
yeah,
just to finish. I made the movie because there's only so many people who are going to read a book. I made the movie to be popularly appealing, and I made it for us, for the 80+% of the country that hasn't dabbled in cryptocurrency. I don't think I can convince. I talk about this in the movie. I don't think I or anyone can convince the
yeah,
hardcore converted. But for the rest of us, it behooves us to educate ourselves and each other on this thing called crypto because it can have ramifications for all of us, particularly as it integrates itself into the rest of the economy. So just wanted to sort of make that point. It's really made to be a piece of popular entertainment.
that's great. Yeah, and I agree with you that one of our biggest concerns in the advocacy front is not so much the degree to which crypto itself creates problems for individuals. That's obviously a real problem, but whether or not the rules and regulations and the oversight for the industry are crafted in a way that actually undermine confidence and stability for the rest of us, for folks who haven't touched crypto, or for parts of the economy and the financial system that shouldn't be affected by the volatility and the risk there, but might be if the industry gets its way. Um, so you talked about you are trying to make this more approachable, but we're here in DC. Folks who might be watching this or we're engaging with are kind of politicos, if you will. And I imagine some DC policy folks are going to see this film and feel like they've already heard it all when it comes to Sam Bankman-Fried or some of the other characters or stories that are covered here. What do you think they should get out of watching this film, given that sort of sentiment of, oh, we've heard it all, seen it all? That's sort of a battle we're facing in our advocacy work.
I mean, they haven't seen my interview with Sam Bankman-Fried, and if you just watch the interview, which was an hour-long interview cut down to about 6 minutes, and if you really take yourself, if you engage in an intellectually honest way with the time period and what was going on then, that he was the king of the world when it came to crypto. He was the purported JP Morgan. He was going to bail out all these failing crypto companies. He was one of the 100 wealthiest people in the world, according to Bloomberg. And I sat down with him in a hotel room in July of 2022, and he couldn't answer the most basic questions about cryptocurrency, in the sense that I asked him, what does it do? Give me one thing that it does that's good for the world. And he answered remittances. He said sending money overseas. Well, I had just come from El Salvador, which is an economy that is the foundation of which is remittances. About a quarter of the economy is money people of Salvadoran descent send home to their families and loved ones. And they had instituted a crypto system to let people use crypto to send remittances. The system was a mess, and nobody was using it. It was less than 2% of remittances, according to the government's own figures. It's now less than 1%. People can't afford to gamble with this crypto system, especially if they're poor, like most Salvadorans really are. They only make the average salary is $400 a month. They can't deal with the volatility, and they can't deal with all the things that go wrong with crypto. So Sam couldn't answer basic questions. Um, I really challenge people who think they know about crypto to sit with this movie and think about what that says about the industry. That the person who was nominally in charge of it, who's spending an enormous amount of time on Capitol Hill and making quite a lot of progress, spreading his money around outwardly to the Democrats. He gave something like 40 million to Biden and various Democratic groups and candidates, but secretly to the Republicans. They charged him with this initially, and then they dropped it. But his colleague is in jail for making illegal political contributions. He was running $100 million straw donor scheme. So another, half of it to the Democrats over the table, and the other half to the Republicans under the table. I think people who deal with this stuff in a real way on Capitol Hill, whether they're pro crypto or not, should engage with this honestly. It's not enough to say, oh, Sam was always a scammer. Oh, we always knew that. Oh, he just, he's the one bad apple. I mean, give me a break, man. Give me a break. He was
Yeah.
running one of the largest crypto exchanges that's ever existed. He was is tied in to a number of guys who are now in jail who pled guilty to crimes such as Shengpeng Zhao, CZ of finance, who Trump then pardoned
Yeah.
in this corrupt deal involving the UAE and an investment of cryptocurrency in Trump's crypto coin in exchange for NVIDIA chips, but also effectively a pardon for CZ. Anyway, it's really dirty. And I just hope that people who think they know will take the hour and a half to watch this movie and then sit with it and say, did you know all that? Because I bet you didn't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what you're saying about sort of the characterization of Sam Bankman-Fried, I think, is literally what we've heard from folks on Capitol Hill, both sort of as a messaging talking point that Sam was just a garden variety fraudster, but also as something that some offices have sort of taken to heart, or at least used to rationalize sort of their overly friendly engagement with the industry. And I think what we have often said is what you said, that this is a systemic problem. The funders in the venture capital world that seemingly looked the other way when FTX was doing things that were questionable are some of the same people that are funding major crypto platforms today and are some of the biggest backers of the industry's political operation. So it is a systemic problem both at the political and the industry level, and that's certainly what I hope people come away with here. Well, I know you're busy, and I want to make sure you have time to get off and launch this film. I had two kind of one
Yeah,
last question and then a question about the film itself.
sure.
Obviously, a lot of the folks who support AFR's work who are watching this are, I think, um, uh, on our team, so to speak, and are ready to do what they can to engage here. Do you have any advice for folks who watch this film and want to take action? What would you say they should focus on?
That's a great question. Well, in terms of personally for the film, if you see it and you like it, tell someone about it. I mean, that's. It sounds like nothing. It's everything to an independent movie. We have no money to market the movie. It's the press I can do, and it's the social media I can do, and maybe a few targeted digital ads via social media. Unfortunately, it's really all we have is word of mouth. So if you see it and you like it, please tell someone about it. It means everything. In terms of what we can do together, I think we have to be practical about what we can accomplish in the short term, and then we have to be really ambitious about what we can accomplish in the longer term, in the sense that the tide has obviously gone against people putting responsible limitations on cryptocurrency and coming up with a framework so that the general public is not harmed. We have been losing, quite frankly, for a variety of reasons. Um, but that doesn't have to be the case. In the short term, we need to stop the Clarity Act from passing. The Clarity Act is this piece of market structure uh, legislation that would effectively put the crypto industry under the supervision of the CFTC rather than the SEC, because the CFTC is the weaker, smaller agency. And this has long been something the crypto industry has wanted. Sam Bankman-Fried had a bill on Capitol Hill right around when I was interviewing him that was affectionately called Sam's Bill. And it would also have put the crypto industry under CFTC. So that was before he was arrested for running a massive fraudulent scheme. I think we need to stop the Clarity Act, and then we need in 2026 in the midterms, and particularly in 28, to start holding not just the Republicans, of course, who unfortunately on this issue are, it's sort of the Venn diagram between MAGA and crypto supporting Republicans is just a circle of in terms of one circle inside of a large circle, but they're all in. The Republicans are unfortunately that's where they are, but we can't affect that. We can hold the Democrats to account. I am particularly frustrated by certain members of the Democratic. I'm speaking on my behalf. This is not AFR's position, obviously, I would imagine. But I'm angry at the 100 Democrats who signed the Genius Act, including Leader Schumer, including Leader Jeffries, including my Congressman Dan Goldman in New York's 10th. I want them to have to explain that vote. I want to engage with those folks in a rigorous but honest way about what exactly do you think you're doing and how is this going to make it better, or at least keep it from getting worse. And so I think that I would like to come up with a rubric where we could give a grade to individual Congresspeople, much like the industry grades them as to how subservient they are to the industry's needs, gives them an A+ if they really get down on their knees. Um, I think we should try to come up with that. So I'll work on that with folks. But in the short term, just think about what supporting crypto means in terms of how it reflects the values or lack thereof of your representatives and act accordingly.
Really appreciate all those thoughts, Ben. And I will say, I think one piece of good news is that, the advocacy work that AFR and a lot of other groups have done on the Hill to raise concern about some of these policies, where they fall short, how they might impact others. That combined with just some of the industry's recklessness has actually made uh, moving their agenda forward a lot more difficult than I think they or others anticipated. So I think that's a testament to folks like you raising the alarm and some of the work that advocates and advocates
Well,
initiatives are doing.
thank you. I neglected to mention the obvious, which is if you want to support the cause, you should continue to support AFR in the work that you're doing. Because as much as I appreciate the kind words, and I'm sure they're sincere and that has some validity. There's the outside game and there's the inside game, and the inside game is really where I think groups like AFR who really have their ear to the ground in terms of understanding what's happening in that small little cluster of powerful people. The work you do is invaluable, and I've been so privileged to be able to meet you and work with you and work with AFR on this topic that we care so much about. So thank you.
Well, likewise, very much so. One last question, Ben. I know we'll be sharing more information about the film with the folks watching this and engaged on our platforms. But just real quickly, where can folks who are listening go to find out more about the film, and tell us a little bit more about how the film's rolling out over the next week or two?
Sure. Everyoneislying.com. Everyoneislying.com has all the information that you need, links to buying tickets. It has the trailer if you want to see the trailer, things like that. We are doing the independent movies are not in a good place. Documentary movies really not in a good place. So we are doing it as a roadshow, at least initially. I'm going to be going to as many Q&As as I physically can to engage with folks and spread the word. And then, of course, in real success, we have already booked many other screenings. So, look, I would love to see you in person. If you're sitting there watching this, please, if it works for your schedule, come to the Q&As. They do sell out. They tend to sell out. We've sold out 3 in New York and 1 in LA already, very close in Boston. So that might not be possible for a variety of reasons. I implore you to go see the movie anyway. I know you miss interacting with this guy, but um, that's how little movies like this, and this is a little movie, kind of break out. So we're in New York and LA the first week, we then expand to Boston and DC the second week. First week is April 17th, second week is April 24th, third week is San Francisco and Austin, and then after that we'll go much, much wider. And things change as uh, as we've been selling out screenings, momentum has been building and theaters are now calling us. So it's certainly we will add more theaters as time goes on. The more people engage, the more people buy tickets, especially beforehand. The more it proves to the other theaters that there's a real demand for this kind of storytelling and this kind of engagement with the truth. So it's been quite a road to get this movie out, but that's another story. So yeah, everyoneislying.com. Go to that, check it out, and hope you enjoy the movie.
That's great. Well, we really appreciate you joining us today and wish you best of luck with the openings. Looking forward to seeing the film and seeing you out there on the road, and just appreciate your partnership in educating the public about this important issue. So thanks so much.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.